for our internal staff and for the customers that are going to be using the beta version of QFloors 6.1. What that means is we are getting ready to release version 6.1 of QFloors, and there will be some customers that want an advanced release of this before we actually release it to the rest of our customers. That will help us test and make sure that things are going okay. We've already had it in testing for quite a while now, so this will be like the final test before we release it to all of our customers. If you find any bugs or anything that you think needs to be changed, please email support@qfloors.com. Okay. So we're also trying out our new webinar software today, and so there may be some breaks in here where we have to try to adjust a few things or whatever. So this is not the smoothest, polished final training for version 6.1, and like I said, there might be some breaks here and there as we get clarifications on a couple of things. Version 6.1, there are a lot of changes in here, and there are a lot of database changes. So the very first thing that you'll need to know is when you're doing the upgrade to version 6.1, please back up before you do anything, because we are going to be rearranging the data, the way it looks, the way it does some things, and especially the first people that are doing this conversion, please just back up first. Second thing that you should know is that for version 6.1, there will be no more Microsoft Access. Microsoft Access for small business and basic ended with version 5 or with version 6.0. So anybody on version 6.1 has to upgrade to SQLite first, and there will be some other videos and training things that will explain on how to do that. So if you haven't already done that, or just make sure you're planning on doing that before you do anything else. All right, Sybase will still be Sybase 9 or 6. All right, so some of the new features in version 6.1. You'll notice. Let's see. The first thing is on. Let's just go up here to the setup menu to miscellaneous. You'll notice that there's some new setup features here on the miscellaneous box. Post labor on invoice completion. What that is you'll notice that in the job costing window right now, when we do job costing and when we post our entries to the general ledger, the only entry that we're posting is the materials entry right now. This 22311 gets posted when we complete the invoice. If you have this miscellaneous box checked right here, it will change the GL entry. When you complete an invoice, it will also post the labor on that entry also. And there's some accounting things that you need to be aware of when you do that. It's going to be posting it to a temporary account, just like, let's see, Trent. Let's see, I'm going to unmute Trent here. Trent?
Yes.
So when we post that, what type of an account does it post to?
It's going to post to the labor cost of goods sold account as a debit, and it will credit the labor payable or contract labor payable account.
And then that means over on their payroll section they have to change that too, right?
Correct. They would have to change all of the setups for each installer over there.
So like this
gross
installer.
Yeah, the gross line item they'd have to double click there and change the account to, instead of the cost of goods sold account, to the
payable. It's going to be
contract labor payable.
Payable. Okay. All right. All right, thank you. Hey, that worked well. That's what that feature does, and there's some accounting things, just make sure. But Trent, you've been using that. How does that work, and what do you think about that feature?
It works great. I've been using it for 3 months now and testing it out, and it works very well, and it makes the numbers on your P&L more real time and even more accurate because it matches the recognition of the labor expense with the recognition of the income, just like on the materials side.
Okay. Somebody is asking questions. Tony Fabrizio or Kevin Cox has unanswered questions. I don't know what that means. Let's see. Kevin Cox, do you have an unanswered question? Hello, Kevin, I can hear you.
Chad?
Yeah?
Just pointing out that you checked the wrong box. You checked the enter bin location on the...
Yeah, I didn't even check it, but did you post a question somewhere?
No, there's a place where I can, yeah, just submit a question, yeah.
I'm not seeing that on where... Ron, can
the options that I can see when I open up the little window. There's a questions chat/chat.
Ron, can you come here for a sec? Where is, I don't see the questions. Is Ron alive? Can you come here for a second? 4 questions. Oh, there's a questions box there. Yeah, probably raise your hand. Let's see. Is going to be better than questions, maybe. So, all right. Somehow that got hidden. All right. Let's continue on here then. All right. So, so that's what the labor thing is. You'll also notice that there's an enter bin location on receive. What that is when you're doing your receiving over on the products window, and you're on, by the way, we do have another feature. If you have a very, very long inventory list, which this database does, it'll come up and ask you this question and say, do you want to continue to wait? And I'm just going to put no here, and we're going to do something like Mohawk, just so that we don't have a long wait here. What happens is when you come over to the on order and you go ahead and hit finalize receiving, and when you do that, it will automatically ask you what the bin location is for everything that you received if that button is checked. Okay, so that's what that feature is. Profit centers. All right, well, let's go back to the customer invoice here. Okay, profit centers and locations and sales tax. There's a bunch of new things on this invoice here. Let's start with the locations and the sales tax. We're changing this version so that the locations now mean something differently than they ever have meant in the past. The locations in general now mean a physical location. Or some people have put on here, like they have a distribution or a wholesale business also. They've put that on there also. So these are actual physical locations, and we've moved the tax and the what we now call a profit center information out away from the locations. You'll notice in the setup over here that we now have a profit center set up. Okay, so this would be things like, and you know what? I think I'm going to switch off of this, Trent. I'm going to switch over to your database so that it looks more like the way that you guys want more like the way you guys do it. So let's come over and connect to right here. Connect. And let's come on to here. Let's see. Trent, can I have you come over and log me in over here? Okay, thank you. All right, so this is going to make more sense here, I think. All right, so you can see that these are all physical locations here, and they have a wholesale business. And so if I come over to my profit center button over here, you can see that these are the different kind of profit centers that they have. Trent, do you know why you have 2 countertops here?
I don't.
That shouldn't be there, right?
No.
So I think we we can't delete this. We can only say
Just
probably
make it
not
blank.
Not used.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you can see that these are his different kinds of businesses. So he's got floor covering, cabinets, countertops. Okay. So those are like the profit centers. Before, we had to have, if you wanted to track these separately, you had to have them over in the locations place over here. You had to have sandy countertops, sandy flooring. Okay. So that's one thing that we've done, is move that out so that you don't have to have as many locations. And the other thing that we did was move the sales tax out of there, so that now you can have sales tax that's independent also of the locations. So let me just come down. These top ones up here were from their old database. So let me just come down here to the bottom. You can see down here that for the Orem location, they have 2 different kinds of sales tax set up. They have the countertops and the flooring kitchen. And the flooring in the kitchen use the use tax law with 5% miscellaneous, and the tax rate's 6.55. If they do a countertop, they don't want to charge any tax on those. Okay, so it's 2 different tax strategies in a lot of different states. You'll have cash and carry as one type of strategy, and installed as another one. That's how this is used here. And in the past, you would have to do that in your locations button. You'd have to have sandy location, cash and carry, sandy location, installed. Now you don't have to do that anymore, because the taxes are now hooked to a location through this window here, but they're not necessarily on the locations button. The other thing that you should know, and for most people that this is the way it would be set up, is that you can do a tax scheme and do all locations. So I think the reason that they did it this way is because it's possible that they may have to charge a different tax rate in between their different stores at a different time, so they just set it up this way. But if your state tax rate were the same for all your stores, you would just use the all locations instead of specifying each location. So what does this actually do? Well, it does something a little bit different. So when you hit the new button on the customer invoice screen, it now comes up and says, what kind of job are you actually doing? Is it countertops or kitchens? And the reason it's asking you this question is so it knows what kind of tax strategy it's going to apply for this invoice. Okay, so now if let's just say that I do flooring kitchen and push OK, when it comes up with the new invoice here, when it comes up with the new invoice here, it'll show you that, oh, it's the flooring strategy at 6.85. Even after you do an invoice, you can you can click on here and go back and say, well, I really wanted the countertop one, and now it will switch it to a countertop type at 0.0%. So if if you can see how that kind of works, it's a little bit different than in the past, but it makes things a lot better that way. Okay, Hugh, you had a question? Hello, Hugh? Hugh, you had a...
That mean? Yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
You had a question.
That means that you got to put, why am I getting an intercom from Ron? That means that you have to maybe require 2 different invoices for a job. If they're, hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Explain what you mean.
Well, you know, if I had flooring and counters, I'd have to have them on 2 different invoices.
If you want to track, now this profit, you're talking about the profit center up here, right?
No, the sales tax.
The tax?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, that
Okay.
would be if you, but you have to do that still anyway right now, right?
Yes.
So that part is not changed. If you have to have 2 different kinds of tax strategies per invoice, you have to have 2 different invoices.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And you should also understand that the profit center, the whole idea behind, hold on, let me get rid of my phone here. Put my phone on mute. Okay. The whole idea behind the profit centers and the locations now is you can run your P&Ls by these different things. By, you know, you can do it by either profit center or location. So if I came up to report profit and loss here, you'll notice that you have a profit center button here and a location button also.
Right. That's
Okay.
good.
So that allows you to do your profit and losses by that. And you'll also notice down in the bottom left-hand corner down here that there's a profit center drop-down box. And so you can sort your invoices now by profit centers also. Okay?
That's good.
All right. All right. I'm trying to figure out if I should unmute you guys or not. I'm going to unmute a few people, or we'll try this for a second. See if this gets too Ingerly. So I'm going to keep you muted because your phone sounds a little bit squirrely. So if you have a question, let us know.
Plus, she talks too much, too.
Is that what it is? I'll keep her muted. Okay. Her and Brett, we better keep them on mute. They're way too talkative. And just know, Ron, I've got you off of mute, but I can mute you at any time. So, all right, we'll move on from here. We have way too much fun in our office here. All right, so that's profit centers, locations, and sales tax. Now, I'm going to, Tony, I'm going to unmute you for a second because I'm going to need your help here. If they, you know, they have all these locations that are now set up, you know, you'll have Sandy installed, Sandy not, or cash and carry, and they have all these different locations. There's a way to now combine these, correct? Is Tony there?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, so there's a way to combine the old locations you have with these now, right? And so you come over to the location setup, and basically, how do you do this?
You click on one location, and then hit the combine button. Up there.
And what will that do?
It will bring up another window asking what you want to combine it with. So
which location stays, the first one or the second one?
That's the question right there. Hit
We
the
haven't
combine.
done. We
Go ahead
haven't
and
done
hit
it.
the button.
Yeah, we haven't done it for so long, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Transfer all data from Logan to this location.
Yeah. So you're getting rid of the one that you're on. And so it will get all that information, all the location information, and move it all over to the new one.
Yeah, and just a caution: again, before you do any of this kind of combining locations, make sure you do a backup, because there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes as far as transferring your data. And I think we're doing GL stuff too, right, Tony?
Yeah.
So
everything that has a location within the database will get updated to the new location.
Okay. So I know, I'm just saying it's probably a good idea to do a backup before you do this, right?
Yes.
Okay. So so that's how, you know, if you're a store with all these locations that, you know, that have the taxes and the profit centers and all that out here, now you can combine those locations down so that you only have a few locations in your locations bar. That should really help you guys out a lot. Anybody else want to chime in on anything about that? Okay. All right. So we're going to move on here. We're taking a long time, aren't we? All right. Let's go down to the other major feature that we have in here, which has to do with the product screen here. You'll notice that we have some new lists or some new tabs up here at the top, and we've reordered the tabs also. We have the pick list, we have a staging list, and we have a transfer list. Okay. The whole idea here is, in the past, the way QFloors works is a couple of days before something was going out to be installed or transferred or whatever, you would normally print out a work order. You would take the work order back out into the warehouse. You would select the product, cut it, and then put that the product in what we would call a staging area or in a bin that would be saved for the installers to come pick it up, you know, either tomorrow or the next day. And then you would just use that work order to do all of that. This new feature here is a more advanced warehousing feature, and the way that it works is this pick list here, anything that has been that is ready and has been through invoice confirmation. So that means any job that has a ready with no star on it, right, will come over onto this list over here. Okay. This used to be kind of like our cut list. So we no longer have a cut list anymore. That's now the pick list, okay, is what we call it. And the whole idea here is once you get items onto the pick list, or once they've gone through invoice confirmation, you can see anything that needs to be picked. Now, there's a date range down here, right? And ideally, the way people would do it is they would come, and I'm not sure, this should have a, we need to put this on. We'll put it on a today or a tomorrow date on here. You'll notice that there's today's. If we go to any other list, I believe, like on the stock list, don't we have, oh, that must have got taken off somehow. Or, oh, maybe you just don't have that version, Trent, or something yet.
Yeah, right.
You're not on the latest version, is that?
No, I'm not.
What version are you on?
147.
And we're on 156 right now. Okay, well, we may have to explain a few things here, because you're not on the latest one, or maybe we'll go back to that other one. But anyway, on the pick list, if you put a date in here, the ideal thing is you put some kind of a date, like 10/1/12, like this, and 10/1/12. Whoops. Let's put 10/15/12 like that. So you can see that now here there are a list of items that need to be picked from on those dates would now show up here, and the idea is the warehouse person just needs to be looking at this list now to tell what they need to go prepare for to either be transferred or to be installed coming up, right? And so this would have a list of things. The warehouse guy would now click on this and hit the print button, and this would allow you to print out what we call a pick ticket, and that pick ticket would be specific to that product. It would have the bin location, and it would have the size of what you need to cut. It has the customer name. It has, if it's being shipped somewhere, it has where it's going to be shipped to, It has the staging location on there. All that kind of stuff is on that list, or on that pick ticket. So you would print this pick ticket, and I think we can just go ahead and print this right here.
Is that date coming from the install date?
Say that again.
Is the date that it's using there, is that coming from the install date?
Yeah, the date. Let's talk about that for a second, because it won't let me print it yet. And this is invoice 11801. I'm going to write that down. 11801. Okay, so if we come back to this invoice over here, and let's go to invoice 11801 like that. We're going to do all dates.
I think that was the product number, wasn't it?
I don't think so.
See on the right.
Oh, invoice number 13135.
Can't you double click on that?
I don't know. No?
No, you can.
You can double click in the green detail section.
Yeah.
Right here, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. Okay. And these are all delivered except for, all right, that one right, is it
line 5,
number
yep.
5 right here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you'll notice something else. If I hit next install right here, and so this is this button up here next to right here. You hit next install, and this new window pops up for you. And we're going to select these lines. We're just going to select line number 5, and the delivery date you put in right here. So let's put in 10/12/12 is the delivery date. The pickup location. So this would probably just be your warehouse if it was the same place. We're in the WE West Jordan. No, we're in the this is that's West Jordan. So they're going to pick it up at West Jordan, and the pickup type, we haven't defined any of those in there yet, but you would have maybe like installer pickup, or customer pickup, or shipping. Yeah, FedEx could be that type of thing. So we'll just leave that like that. I'm going to push OK. Now look what happens when
I'm sorry, 5 is not a valid choice. Please try again.
Who tried to click on 5?
All of our software and technical support representatives.
All right, I'm muting. I had to mute everybody. So Ingerlise Taylor, do you have a question?
I'm good right now, thanks.
All right. Okay. All right. So, so you'll notice that when we did this, that down here on this line, you can see that this looks a little bit different than in the past. You have a WE, which means it's going to be picked up at the West Jordan location, and the date that it's going to be picked up. Okay, and I'm going to go back here again. And Kevin, Ron. Yeah, go ahead. Okay. So you can see that this is now specify where it's going to be. So if I come over to my pick list over here, and I redo this, now I think if I hit the print button here and say OK.
Thank you for holding. All of our software and technical support representatives are currently assisting other clients.
Who is that?
If you'd like to leave us a message, you may press 2.
All right, we're muting all. Somebody's going to have to. That was kind of weird. All right. 1101 is not in a location. Product 1101. Let's see, 801. Enter. Tony? Let's see. Oh, it's in transit still. That's what the problem is. It's in transit. Why is it in transit? Because it hasn't been received yet. So obviously, I guess you cannot pick something if it isn't in stock. Dreamweaver Mystical. Here, I'm just going to write this down. We'll come back and change it back to in transit. All right, we're going to put this West Jordan. Okay, save. All right, let's try this again. Print. All right, so now you can see that it printed, and it will print this pick ticket. Actually, I should probably just print it to the screen here. Ticket. Let me see if I can see this now. It didn't work. Local to see. I can't. Let's see. That's going to be on my local drive. Is where it's at. There's our ticket right there. All right. This is what it looks like. And actually, these tickets are now formatted for thermal printers. It will print out on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, but it's actually formatted for a thermal printer, a 4-inch thermal printer. I think it's a 4 by 6 is the size of this ticket right here. Okay, so if you have a thermal printer, this thing will print out. You can see it's got, you know, how much you need, the pickup location, if it's shipping to somewhere, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So that's what it looks like. All right, let's get back over to our webinar here. All right, so once you print it, it will show up as green so that you know that those have been printed and then there's tickets that's gone out to the printer. Once somebody goes and grabs those off the printer, goes back and grabs the stuff, they would cut it and then put it in the area that it tells them to put it in, the staging area. You basically would just finalize like this. Okay, and it will move it from your pick list over into a staging area. Okay, and so it's waiting in a staging area in your warehouse for somebody to come pick it up, either an installer or a customer or whoever. When they come to pick that up, you just find the item on your staging list here. You click on it, you hit finalize, and then it will go off of your staging list. When it does that, you can notice right here that it says picked. Once it goes out of your staging area, if it's not being transferred, if it's being picked up, which in most cases it is, the status will go to what we call delivered star. Okay? Delivered with a star on it. Delivered with a star now means in version 6.1 that it has left the warehouse. Okay? Doesn't mean it's installed yet. Delivered star is like a temporary thing, but it at least is not in our warehouse anymore. Okay? If this thing was on a transfer, okay, which is the transfer button over here, if it was being transferred to a different location, and basically the way that you define that is right here. If the pickup location is different, if the pickup location is different than the location that is on the product right here, we know it's going to be transferred to somewhere else. Okay? So if you finalize here and the location's different, it actually puts it onto a transfer list, which means that you're putting it on a truck to transfer it to a different location to be picked up at. Okay? So now you have a transfer list over here, and this list would show you, and in fact you can do down here in your pickup location, you know, for like Draper or whatever, and it would have a list of everything that's being transferred to Draper. You print the list off, you take it over there on your transfer truck, and then when you get it there, you come to the transfer list and you will do like an on-order receiving for that transfer. So you would just click off on the items that were being transferred, okay, and it will receive them into that location, like the Draper location, okay, and it will put them into a staging area there, waiting for something to happen. If you have the bin location thing checked over on your miscellaneous window, if you have that checked, then it will ask you for a bin location when you're doing a transfer receive or a finalized transfer. Okay? It'll ask you for the bin locations. Okay? So that is our new tracking, and you can see it's a lot more detailed than just printing out a work order and putting it somewhere in your warehouse. Now, smaller stores will continue to do it that way, but if there are people with larger operations that have big warehouses, or if you are an operation with multiple stores, you would probably use the transfer button. Okay. So I don't know if there were any questions about that. If there's any questions, raise your hands. Maybe. Okay. All right. All right. So let's go on from there. There still is. You'll notice on the pick list too, and we probably won't get into this right here, right now. But on the pick list, you'll notice that there's still a Q cutter thing, and so you can send something to the cutting machine through this pick window here. Okay. We'll get into that at a different time. Retail pricing formulas. We've changed something. In fact, let's just go over to the customer accounts window here and just show you a couple of things that we've done here. Okay. And Trent doesn't have the new version. Let's see here. See if I can. Might have to flip back and forth between the versions here. This is really a test webinar for sure. Unpolished. We're jumping back and forth all over the place here. Okay. All right. So you'll notice on the customer account setup window, if we go edit, you'll notice that there are some more boxes here that we've now clicked on. Okay. The material discount and the labor discount boxes. What this does is, if you want a discount for a customer all across the board, so let's say that you have some kind of a special customer, they're a big contractor or somebody that you have a special relationship with that gets a discount on all the material that they buy. You can put their discount right here, and whatever the retail price we come up with after the, going through any of the formulas or whatever, it will discount that price by 5%. And you can also do the same thing on the labor price. Okay? So that affects the final retail price on either the product or the labor that somebody's purchasing. Okay? And that's per customer. The other thing is we have a hold and an exempt. If you click on exempt, every invoice that you do for that customer will automatically check the exempt box. Okay. The hold, all right, so the hold and the credit limit now work together in a couple of different ways. if somebody is on hold, this would be like a credit hold. That freezes everything on their account. That means that any invoices that are currently in process, you'll no longer be able to do invoice confirmation. You'll no longer be able to do a pick list. You'll no longer be able to deliver things. You won't be able to job cost things. It basically puts any ticket, any customer invoice in the system for that customer. It puts them on a hold, and it stops right where they're at. Okay, that is different than going over your credit limit. Okay, if you go over your credit limit, all that does is it prevents you from putting any additional invoices into the system, but it still allows you to process any invoices that are currently in the pipeline. Okay, so it allows you to deliver or to go install or to continue doing work. It just doesn't allow you to put anything additional into the system. So these two things work together. You'll notice out here on the list that now there's some colors here, and the red means that they're on credit hold. Okay, I believe there's another color for going over the limit. I think I can find one here. Let's see, those are red, yellow. So the yellow right here means that they're on credit hold, or I mean that they're over their credit limit. And if you can see right here, they have $200,000 in credit, and they've extended $209,000. So that's what that one means. Okay. Let's see. The other thing in here is if you put you can put their terms in down here, and their terms will now show up in the comments box on the customer invoice every time. So in this box right here, and I think you have to put the word terms in there. Where's Tony? Tony, can you hear me? Hello, Tony? We'll get a clarification on that.
Are you unmuting?
Yeah, Tony's unmuted.
Tony's
yeah.
on Ron's desk.
Oh, Tony's on Ron's desk?
Yep.
He doesn't have his thing. Okay.
He might be on a call.
Yeah, he's probably on a call. We'll get a clarification from Tony on that. But I know if you put factor in here, there's a factor thing. I'll have to go find that out. But there is a way to put terms in down here, and then the terms will show up on every customer invoice when they come through. Okay. We'll get some clarification on that. So one of you guys, when you see Tony's off the phone, will you grab him and have him come in here? All right. All right, that's for customer accounts now. And you'll notice, I think this new little search button, I don't know if that's new or not, but that's on there.
Chad?
Yeah.
My terms come up there. Just you don't even have to have anything in the notes field down there. As long as if you have a net days due and an interest rate, I think it just prints out on my invoices that way.
Up at the top, right?
No, down in the comments it does. It says net due.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. If you just have terms.
If you have those things filled in. Yeah.
That's right. That's what it is.
Right.
If you have. All right. So the other thing though is if you put factor in like this right here. They have a factoring company on some of these. It will flag that that invoice to be with the factoring company.
I see.
So factor is a key word.
Okay.
And if it's at the very first, right here, then whatever follows it, it will put it also in the comments down at the bottom.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, you're right. As long as you have these net due and interest rate things, I think it puts it into the comments. But if you put a factor right here, anything that follows it also goes into the comments.
Okay.
Okay? That's what it is. Thank you for helping me. It's been a while. All right. And in addition to, let me just finish up on the retail price formulas. And we'll see a couple new things in here. But if we're in our product catalog, the other thing that we're going to do with the retail price formulas is we're going to put an edit box right here on the style and the color so that you can select a formula for that style and color. So it will work just like the retail price does in here, except for it will be a formula. And so you can override any style or color with an actual retail price formula so that that style and color always get that retail price formula. Okay. So it works exactly like the retail thing, only it's a formula instead of a price. Okay? All right, so that's what that is. You'll also notice that in the product catalog, a couple of things here. Edit manufacturer. You'll notice down here that you can have a default vendor now for each manufacturer. Okay? This is used in a couple of different ways. When you're doing our stock check, when we come back to that here in just a little bit, this is the vendor that it will go to look to see if there's any stock for that item. The other way it's used is when you create a product over here on the product window. This vendor will be automatically filled in. If there is a vendor defined in the product catalog there, it will automatically fill that vendor in here also when you hit a new product. Okay? So that's how that new thing is used. There is also, you'll notice there's a catalog search button down here. And the way that this works is it brings up the catalog search window. So, you know, if you can't find what you're looking for, you can search for it in here mainly, you know, like with a find button or whatever. So if I do some kind of color name, I don't know, red, like this, that might not have been the right thing to find. I should have put red brick or something. All right, here we go. Okay, so you can see that down in the color name there's probably red oak, right? So the way this works is, whoops, I should have put it in the box there, right? Thought if I double click, oh, there it goes. Okay, so now it puts this product in here, and if I hit the select button, it will automatically select it here in my product catalog. So it's just a way to, if you can't find what you're looking for, you can use the catalog search here, and then if you double click on it and hit select, it will go right to that product here in your catalog. Okay? Kind of just a little shortcut thing. The other thing with the product catalog is you can now hit anywhere on any window, hit F6, and that product catalog will come up. So you don't have to go up to setup and down to product catalog. That's F6. Okay. Control F6. Control F6 will bring up the product search window. And that can be anywhere. But notice if you do it this way, it won't be associated with any invoice. But you can quickly search for any kind of, you know, do a catalog search from any window now just by hitting Control F6. You know, and what that will get you is your pricing and things like that down here. So it's really a good shortcut button, right, for just looking up a price on a product or something like that. The other one that we have, and Trent, don't let me forget to change that product back over here. Is this the one that we were dealing with?
Yeah.
And that's in transit? All right, Tony. We'll put Tony onto that one. All right. So the other thing that you can do here is let's do if I'm changing something here, and I hit, instead of going up and hit the save button anytime, you can hit Control S, and that will save it. Just with a Control S now. Okay? All right. Checkbook clear. I think the checkbook clear, wasn't that in version 6.0? Where you go to reconcile and the CSV clear right here?
Yes.
So that's already in our last version, right?
Yes.
I'm not going to go over that one then. And the hold feature also was in version 6.0, right?
Yeah.
On the customer invoice, that's in there? Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll skip over those two, okay? If you don't know what we're talking about, go to the 6.0 documentation. You'll probably, there's a hold right here, and it'll explain to you what that is. I should also mention with the delivered star, we're changing the way that delivered star works. Delivered star will no longer be in the invoice confirmation list. Okay? So there will be no delivered stars in there. We have a delivered star report right here, so if you want to see all the invoices that have a delivered star on them, you can simply run that report, and there should be a delivered star somewhere. There you are, on those invoices. Okay? The other thing with delivered star is that a salesperson can change one of these to delivered star if the following criteria is met. Okay? There has to be a zero balance on the invoice. There has to be one or more payments on the invoice. So there has to be a payment in the payments window. There can't be any labor, so it's got to be a cash and carry invoice, and the invoice has got to be in a ready status. If all of those things are true, then a salesperson can actually click on a delivered star here, and what that simulates is something was cash and carry, right? Like a customer went and they paid for it right then. It didn't really go through the warehouse or whatever, and they just took it right out, you know, and the salesperson can then mark it as being delivered star, okay? Without going through all the other, you know, pick lists and all that kind of stuff. It can go right to delivered star. So delivered star means something a little bit different in this new version than it has in the past. In fact, it's more kind of like what people used to use, the cut status. There is no more cut status on here. I think there's a pick status and a delivered star status. Delivered star meaning gone from the building. Okay.
Chad?
Yeah.
You said it had to be a ready order status invoice?
Yes, it has to go through confirmation, I believe.
Okay. So we're looking at the delivered star list, and this invoice is in that list.
Yes.
Did I miss something?
This invoice has some delivered stars on it.
Oh, for the pick list, not because somebody manually selected delivered.
Exactly,
okay.
exactly.
Okay. Gotcha.
It came from the pick list, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
No, thank you. Let's see. All right, subtotal lock. One of our favorites here. Kevin knows about subtotal lock. In fact, maybe you can, I didn't want to do that. All right, subtotal lock. So basically what subtotal lock is, you'll notice if you hit the total button, there's this new checkbox here. This really doesn't come into play unless you're using total mode. Okay, total mode means one. Oh, I'm sure I can find a total, like this one right here. Well, this one doesn't have any. Let's see here. Orders. All right, yeah, like this one right here. This is what total mode is. It's when there are no totals on each of the line items and just one total down at the bottom. Okay. What subtotal lock is if you have total mode like this, you save the invoice, then you come back and try to save something, and it changes the subtotal because you put a price on it or for whatever reason, or you manually went down and changed the total down here. Subtotal lock will not, it does one of two things. If you're just a salesman and don't have management status, it will not allow you to save the invoice with a different total on it. Okay? If you are in management status, it will notify you, hey, the subtotal has changed. Are you sure you want to change this to the new total? Okay? And that just prevents, when people put one total down here at the bottom, sometimes if they're up here screwing around with the invoice or putting a price on, or sometimes it will recalculate the invoice and the subtotal will go away. And so what we did is just put a little safety net in there so that if you're in total mode and you've put a total in already, that it can't be changed unless you have higher status, access status, but it will still notify you. Okay. This feature also can be used when you detail outlines. If you want to put a lock on here so that they don't change, you can come in here and manually click on subtotal lock, and it will lock an invoice even if it has prices out here. The difference is if you're in total mode, it does it automatically. If you're detailing out the lines, you have to manually click on that lock. Okay? Chad? Yep.
At what point does it automatically do it when it's in total mode?
After the first time you save it, as an order. So not as a proposal. So if you change a proposal to an order, the next time it puts the lock on. If you create a new invoice and it's an order, then it saves that first total, and if you try to change it again, then that's when it locks.
Okay.
So if you're in total mode, ideally you would create a new invoice. The very first thing you would do is come down and put a total in, right? And put it in total mode, and then when you save it, it'll put that lock on there. Okay. The other kind of safety thing that we've put on here is QFloors will now not allow two users to modify the same invoice at the same time. That means a lot of different things. That means if you have two users that pull up the same invoice on two different machines, and they both start to modify that invoice, the first person that saves it will get the save. The second person, it will pop up a message saying, this invoice has been changed. You need to reload it before you can modify it further. So what that means is the second person, if they would have put any work in there, will have lost the work that they put in. Okay? So we're just finding the bigger and bigger stores that we get, more and more people are in those invoices at one time, and we have to kind of protect that from happening. The other thing that happens, and we've seen this, especially in bigger stores, we'll have a salesperson in here putting in an invoice, and they won't be all the way done yet or something like that, and you already have a purchasing agent that's going ahead and modifying the invoice and assigning things to it. This will prevent that kind of thing from happening. Okay, so just be aware that you may get a message like that. It's working fairly well in the bigger stores that we have now, and helping us make sure that the data has more integrity to it. The other thing with the invoice is We've changed the maximum number of invoice lines from 64, I think, to 415. So now you get 415 invoice lines if you would like. You'll notice that we put a PO number, invoice PO number up here at the top. What that means is usually if you are dealing with a Lowe's or a Home Depot or a Costco or even a builder of some kind, they often want to give you a PO number. And this is a place where you can put a PO number and then you can search for invoices now by invoice PO numbers if you want over here. Okay. Let's see. Oh, and also that PO number will be on the all payments over here. There's a column for invoice PO number over here, so that when you're paying stuff, that you can see who you're paying by PO number. Second address line, you'll notice that in QFloors now there's a second address line both here on the customer invoice and on the bill screen. There's a second invoice line. And I believe in the customer setup and the vendor setups, all those have second address lines in them here, street number 2. Okay. So we have second address lines in there. Another thing that you might, on the overhead charges here, we've added a feature where in the product catalog, you'll notice over here, by the way, you can maximize these product catalog windows now if you couldn't see everything before. You'll notice on the types here that we added an overhead column. And what that means is now you can do overhead by product type. Before we only had one overhead number and or a percentage that times by the material cost. But now you can vary the percentage by the type of material. Okay.
Chad,
yeah.
I think, can you mention in there also about the new product types? I don't think we've published anything about those yet.
Yeah, that's on my list here, but that might be a good time we can talk about it here. In version 6.1, we are not limiting any product types. That means that any type coming off of the B2B list, or if you want to create your own custom types, the matching that is coming off of CSV files or B2B lists, we're supporting all those now, and we're actually supporting not just the first 3 letters, but the back 3 letters, or the first 3 digits, but the back 3 digits also. So on the B2B standard, there's a first 3-digit number, and then there's a second 3 digits that sometimes is used, like carpet, CAR. There's also a carpet tile, CARTIL, or a carpet vinyl tile, VINTIL. We now support all those digits, so you can see CARTIL here. And we do more, and you can put your own in here. For example, this customer here, GRN is not in the standard anywhere, but when they import files from certain manufacturers, they use GRN. It will match up and work. So there's no limitations now on the types. You can use as many as you want. Okay. Did that answer your question, Ron?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure that that was clear. All right. Let's go back to the. We have a couple of other new things on the build here. You'll notice that we have a build date right here. You can manually put something in there, but we also have a feature where we have what's called a build report. Build invoice. There we go. And what this is, this window should look familiar. It looks like the contract labor reports and sales tax reports. All of the items down here in the bottom are invoices that have been completed that have a balance and do not have this new build date on them. Okay? So if they have a balance and they've been completed, that means they're a receivable. Okay? They show up in this list right here. And if you finalize the report, anything with a check mark, it will print an invoice, a bill, a customer invoice. It will print an invoice out, and it will put the build date on that invoice. And then you can take those invoices, put them in an envelope, and ship them off. Okay? And so it's kind of like keeping track of when they were billed, not just when I made out the invoice for them. Okay? Delivered star, we already talked about. The way that delivered star kind of works, let me just mention this other feature. There is a, underneath, let's see, edit right here, split partially completed invoices, okay? Okay, so if you have an invoice where you have some lines that are completed and some that are not, like there's some of these delivered star ones I'm guessing might be like that. Like this one's on hold. These aren't even, well, there's one that, yeah, so here's one, it would be like this one right here. And I'm pretty sure I could do this because this database is not real, right? Here's one right here. What this does is if you run this, let's do 64. Let's just do that. If you run this this feature right here, split partially completed invoices, and you're going to set a completion date. What it's going to do is it's going to run through any of the invoices that are on this list right here, and it's going to split the invoices in two. Any of the lines that have been completed or delivered, okay, without a star, so completed lines, it's going to take all those lines and put those on one invoice and take the remainder of the lines and keep them. Actually, I think it completes the original invoice, and then it takes the lines that weren't delivered that are still in process and puts them on a brand new invoice so that it completes part of that job, kind of like partial job costing, right, or progressive billing, where you can complete part of it and then wait for the other part to be completed. And it does all that automatically for you. Let's see if we can get this to happen here. This one says cash and carry only. That one has, let's do this. One invoice that can be split. Do you want to continue? Yes. All right. So you can see that on the original invoice here, 6477, it says that it moved all of those lines that weren't completed yet to another invoice, and then it completed this line and those lines that were already completed on this one, and now this invoice is complete. Okay? And now if we went to our new invoices, there should be, let's do month to date. There should be a new, where's that new invoice at? Month to date. Do you think it would have dated it back?
The number on it was 8992. But
it was?
Yeah. In the line items, remember it told you what?
8992.
Yeah.
8992. Let's try this. See what. Okay, so here's this brand new invoice. Oh, it kept the date from the last one.
The dates, yeah.
Okay. So here's this new one, probably just missing. I don't know if it puts them all up at the top. Looks like it just doesn't put them on there. So now here's your new invoice. So we think that that could be fairly handy, that feature for a bunch of people. Okay. Any questions on that? People that are doing progressive billing will probably like that. We did create
one of the things that's probably critical on that, Chad, that you would probably want to remind customers about is you want to do line item pricing with that, because the example you had just had a total at the bottom, and took those 3 line items that were probably a small portion of the job, and the whole invoice total was applied to those 3 lines, whereas you can see no money, no total on here is even applied to these other lines. So,
okay,
it's a feature you want to use if you're doing line item pricing rather than lump sum pricing.
Well, and I think you can do the lump item. You just have to be careful because this company does use it that way. With lump, and I think they go back and they might adjust the prices afterwards or whatever.
Okay.
They just have to be a little bit more careful about what they do. So I think it could be used in either way, but you're right in what you're saying.
Okay.
And usually when we do this split invoice, the invoice number is up here at the top. Looks like they had some other stuff, but this would be the original invoice number right here. Okay. Let's see here. We have a new report here called In Process All. So this includes all. It's basically your ready orders and orders together. We've been missing that, I guess. So it's all of your open orders. Okay, together. Invoice confirmation. On the invoice confirmation window, you can now search or filter on invoice confirmation. You can now filter your invoice confirmation by different things, by the product number or the customer name or the invoice number. So if you're just looking for a certain invoice here, you could just put 570 like this, and it would bring up anything with invoice confirmation 570 if there was anything there. Let's try this 507.
You didn't change the button yet.
Didn't change the button.
Oh. And it brings up just 507. You can also do it by location. So if you wanted to see just invoice confirmation by a certain location, you can do that also. Okay. What's that? So those are a couple of things. I just mentioned on purchase orders, we have reformatted purchase orders a little bit. We've made them a little bit neater. You can put longer comments in when you're doing your finalize your PO. This 45 is only limited to B2B, but if you're going to print a PO, you can put more than 45 characters in there. If you put the vendor in here and there is no vendor over here on this side, it will fill the vendor in. The other thing is, let's see, the ordered by also, over here, this ordered by, this also gets filled in, and this gets filled in by the person that does the invoice confirmation. So whoever's logged into the system at the time that you do invoice confirmation gets put into the ordered by form here. I will mention that on the print tag here we have some new formats for thermal printers, for 4-inch printers here. There are some additional formats in your inventory tags now that we have. You might want to just print those out and test those out and see what it looks like. On the inventory adjustments, we've On inventory adjustments, there is a comment box here now that you can now put comments in. Okay, and that shows on the adjustments. There is a type in here that is now back order. You can see this one right here is a back order status, which is a new status, and if it's back order, it's going to be red on this side. And I will just mention that if something is back ordered, well, we have a new messaging system in QFloors. When certain things happen, messages can be sent to users. So if something is back ordered, it will send a message back to the salesperson telling them that their item has been back ordered. The other thing that it does is when you receive a product on your on order list, it will also send a message, if you want, back to the salesperson. It'll send a message back to them telling them that the item has come in. There's a setup employee preference here. So you can say, I want to get a message when a product is received or placed on back order. I want to get a message when an invoice is changed to a ready order. I want to get a message when the payment is received on an invoice. And I think this payment thing goes to the controller, not to the salesperson in the company. We will continue to add preferences on messages that are going to be received as we get more things in here. Should just mention that we're going to change the location of this employee preference from the setup menu over to the preferences menu over here. So next time you see it, it'll probably be over here on this preferences. Let's see, deposits, just real quick. You can sort your deposits by location now, right down here. Okay. Projects. Let's talk about projects for just 1 second. Project management. You'll see here that there's, if you do show complete, it will only have a list of projects that we have identified them as being complete, right? And so if you click on a project like this one right here and then hit the complete button, it will mark that project as being complete. So you can...
So it doesn't show up in the drop-down list anymore?
Exactly, to make the drop-down list more manageable. Okay. You should also notice that over here on the progressive billing report, and I got to that by hitting print, we've reformatted this, okay? You can come up here and we have 3 different reports now. They've always kind of been there, but we've done a few different things. We've added in some new columns on the summary report, and that's because this can now act as what we call a WIP, a project summary, or a WIP, WIP report, work in progress. And you know, it will give you the proposal cost, the completed costs, and some people will use this information to calculate what percentage of the project is actually done for their AIA billing and stuff like that. Okay, we still have our AIA billings, that hasn't gone away. The other 2 reports, our comparison report has always been there, and our comparison detail report are there also. The difference is you can just print out one of those at a time instead of having to print out all 3 of them if you want. Okay. Okay, so we've done some formatting with that. That should help a few people. I did show you how you can maximize the product catalog. You can also do that on the general journal entry window, I believe. If it'll come up here. My computer's so slow. All right, here we go. So yeah, you can maximize this here like that. So there's a couple of windows. You can do it on that, the product catalog, and the customer invoice payment window you can maximize like this. Okay. A couple of things in here. You can do some reversing entries. Trent, have you been working with that or doing that?
I have used it, yes.
Okay.
I've used the duplicate.
The duplicate?
Yeah.
You want to just explain how you're using that real quick?
Yeah. So I have, and a lot of stores have, monthly. If they're doing monthly financial statements, they'll have monthly journal entries that they want to enter for things like recognizing monthly depreciation or a monthly insurance expense that they usually pay yearly, and other, miscellaneous journal entries that, stores just want to make, that they need to make. And, you can have a short or a long journal entry that you make every month, but if you don't want to have to recreate that journal entry, you can hit duplicate right here.
So you would just click on an entry and hit duplicate?
Right. Hit on like last month's entry,
Uh-huh.
and you click on it, then hit duplicate,
Uh-huh.
and then it'll bring up this screen here that
And
you
you
can
put a new date in.
put your new date, yeah, for the next month,
Uh-huh.
and a name on it if you want. It's usually the same name because it's just a monthly entry.
Uh-huh.
And then you hit save.
Uh-huh. I don't know if I want to do that, do I?
I don't know.
Well, it's a test database, I guess.
Yeah, it's a test. So then what it does is it will bring up an exact copy of that journal entry that you can then just go in and tweak the numbers or the line items that you want to change there. It's particularly useful when you have long journal entries, and some of our larger customers have those.
Okay.
But I use it too.
And there's a reversing button in there too. How would they use that?
So some companies, when they put in, for example, their work in process entry, which some large companies, especially that are doing big projects, will always use, they want to put in their work in process to recognize the income and cost of goods sold for, the partial jobs that they've completed, but then they want to reverse all of those entries on the first day of the next month, so that they're not accumulating those numbers in their balance sheet and so forth going forward. So it essentially puts those numbers for the last month into their balance sheet and P&L. Then the reversal, doing the reverse, takes them right back out on the first day of the next month, so that you're starting from zero, if you will, zero account balances on those accounts going forward on the next month. Okay, so you can recognize your work in process from a starting point when you get to the next month. So it's just a quick way of putting in, those numbers at the end and then reversing them for the next. An accountant would understand what you're talking about. A typical floor covering business owner would not.
Okay.
So most people won't use it, but accountants will.
They can have somebody listen to this if they need to.
Right.
Okay. Good. Let's see here. All right. So that's basically the stuff with the journals. I think they've redone a few things here where you can clear some lines, and there's some new features in here, right, Trent? Did you want to say anything else about that, or? I think you can clear a line or something like that.
Well, yeah. There's one of the things I'd like to mention is kind of goes back to the location and profit center stuff. You didn't go over that yet, did you?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so one of the things you can do on these journal entries, if you do have people, customers that want to keep track of their P&Ls by location or by profit center, the journal entry, each journal entry can also be split out right here by location and profit center if you want to. And that just helps you be able to quickly, do the entries you need to for those different locations or centers that will help you get your P&Ls correct.
Okay. All right.
You should go over that feature in the bills too.
Oh, we forgot about that.
Yeah, that's a big one that people won't use.
I don't have it on here. Why did I not have it on here? Okay. I'll write that down. I totally forgot about that. Thank you. So what they're talking about here is on our bills and credits window, well, not only on our invoice window can you select a profit center, right? But on our bills and credits window, when you're putting in a new bill over here, let's just put Mohawk like this, you'll notice that when we come down to this field right here, that now it allows us to select a location on a bill line, okay? And then if you push enter or tab, the next one over is a profit center, okay? So there's a list of profit centers here that you can also select. So when you're putting in a bill, if you want, and if you have your profit centers defined, and this won't be for every company. This is only if you have profit centers defined. But if you do, it'll allow you to do your profit center and your location, and then you'll go over to your account like normal. So
yeah, let me give you a practical example of how that can be used, and that a lot of your stores that you talk to will use. If they have, like Chad was saying, either multiple locations or multiple profit centers, you no longer have to enter multiple bills to split out portions of that bill to different locations or different profit centers. You can do it on one bill because it's done line item by line item now and not bill by bill.
And that should help you with getting more accurate P&L statements, right?
Correct. That's faster, easier. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I mean, they were always accurate before, but you had to create one bill for every location, right?
Correct.
And you couldn't do profit centers, really.
No.
Well,
it was just
hard.
done by location.
Yeah, it was hard. Okay. All right,
Chad,
good.
Chad,
yeah.
Maybe we need to mention that if you don't select a location on the line, then it is saving the bill and its lines into the location that's actively selected up at the top, right?
That's right. That is correct.
Make a point that they don't have to select a location.
Yeah, and especially for smaller companies and stuff, they won't use this feature because they only have one location, right?
Right.
So this is mostly just for people that are trying to do multiple profit and loss statements for different locations or profit centers.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Most stores probably have a couple of profit centers, but if you just have one location, you can skip that part on that line, right?
Yes.
You can pick a profit center on the line without picking a location.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. I've got two things left, and we're almost at 2 hours here. That's a long one, but should give us what we need to do. So 2 things left, and then any trainers, if you have any things that we've forgotten, like the bill one we just forgot, please mention it. We now have if we go to our total sales, and let's just do last month maybe, and do you'll notice that now we've put the margins on. Not only you can on a total sales invoice, you can now see the margins out here too. Okay, only on completed sales. And now we've activated this for all of these reports.
Nice.
Okay. The one thing though we caution you is that they might not be right. Sure. They're more likely not to be right, but the way that we see people now using this is they will scan down here for a number like this negative, right, this big one right here, and say, hey, why is this like this? And so they can use this to quickly scan through to see, hey, is there a problem on some of these invoices? And you can see on this one, absolutely, there's some kind of a problem here. Okay, so it's actually more than seeing what those values actually are. It's more kind of a test to see what could be wrong. Is how we see people kind of using it. Okay. All right, and then the last one, and this is the big one that everybody wants, I'm sure. So I saved it till last so that you had to stay on this call to know about it. We have created a history log for any time somebody changes a major part of a QFloors invoice. Okay, and so what that means is we're logging changes. Okay, and let's just get to one here. I don't know. Let's get to a long one here because it'll probably. Oh, this one would probably work. Let's just do. You come up to reports, and you go to change log right here, and then I can put in invoice 7812 right here like that. Push enter again. You can put a date range in here, or you can just push enter twice. And it will show you that initially Tracy Dane created this invoice. And you can see the changes that it went through. She put on line number 1, and then she changed the total down at the bottom to this. And then it changed, then 4 more lines were added. Line 5 was cleared. And there's even some more examples, like if somebody does invoice confirmation and assigns a product here, it will show that that was done. So it will show all the different people that are touching this invoice and basically changing the invoice. And it will show, you know, if the total was changed. So if the total was changed down here from one total to another, it'll show that. And there's a lot of different things. It doesn't show every single change, but most of the major changes that you're going to need to know about, it will show up on here. So that will give you a good idea of, you know, a lot of times we get the thing, oh, QFloors, you know, is screwing up here, or I swear I didn't change that, and that person probably didn't, but maybe it was somebody else in the company. So this will really help us track and give us a better idea of what's going on customer invoice. By the way, you can do it for invoices or products too. It logs messages. I will say this, the way that this is set up is it will track 500,000 messages, and then when it gets to, I think, 500,000, it will come up and ask you to archive the messages into a file, and then it deletes most of them out and starts. I think it leaves like the last 3 months in, but it deletes everything out before that, and then it goes forward from there. And so there'll be a message that pops up when it gets to that point. The log part down here, you can type in any part of a name. Like if I wanted to say, I don't know, if I put cleared down here like this, so anytime there was a cleared in the log, you know, it put this onto the list over here. And obviously there's a lot of them here. So you definitely, if you're going to do that, you're going to need to use the date range feature here if you're looking for something that was cleared. Okay? That's all I have. Does anybody have anything else that they know that I've missed? Oh, I have one other thing. The closing. You may have noticed that right here we have a permanent close button. What that means is if you use this to close, you will not be able to go backwards from that. It is a permanent close. Okay? We would have to go in and do some real funky stuff. So we still have our soft close the way that it's always been. That's the same. Nothing new about that. But if you permanently close, it will prevent any user in your company, including the owners, from going back and unclosing the books. Okay? Anything else anybody knows about? Are we good to call
What's this?
Done.
Link to a lead.
Oh, link to a lead. Thank you. That's a one that we've just put in recently. I'm going to write that down. We've always had in version 6.1 or 6.0 the ability to link from a lead over to an invoice, right? But we never had the ability to link back to a lead. And the way that's used is sometimes if you create more than one invoice from a lead, there was never a way to track that. Like the link from the lead to the invoice, there could only be a one-to-one link. So if you created 3 different invoices or 3 different proposals from a lead, it would only show the link to the last one that you created. So this allows us to link multiple invoices back to one lead.
Okay.
And the reason we want to do that is now we can create reports to track advertising and everything else that's back on that lead to an invoice. Okay? Good question. Anything else? I'm sure we'll find a few things, but I think this is a good first step and will help us get to where we need to be. So if there's nothing else, I'm going to go ahead and sign off now. Thanks, guys.
1 second.
All right.
When's this going to be available for sales? Can we download it or start playing with it?
We're recording this. We're recording this on November 9th. We expect this to be going out to our customers next week.
Oh, okay.
So and the Salesforce will get it at the same time.
And we'll want to demonstrate it at the at the show in
absolutely
or Orlando. Yeah, right.
All the shows will have this version. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys.